So what do you think about independence then?
What do I think about independence? I believe we should be a country we are a country and we should be totally independent from England because England rules us. Independence, we can have all our own money, we can have in power who we wish whenever there's an election, and we can be free to rule. We have progressive Scotland. I just don't know what else to say.
That's lovely, absolutely wonderful. It's really very good.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, an inclusive, progressive Scotland, because people come together, and it's shown with the amount of people that's turned up here today. And in Edinburgh, over 200,000, Glasgow 100,000. There's marches going all over Scotland just now, and they say people haven't got an appetite. Yeah, well, this will show them today. I'm looking forward to seeing Nicola Sturgeon, Mike Russell, the wee ginger duck, Murray Black, and I believe Patrick Harvey is coming as well. But it's not about SNP, it's about all under one banner, everyone together.
Thank you. What's your name?
Caroline Turner.
Nice to meet you. Despite the limitations, lack of funds, personnel, and the equivalent available, it is our hope that this film will bring you the atmosphere and excitement of the rally in George Freedom Square in Glasgow, 2nd of November 2019. Although every press organisation in Scotland seemed to gain access backstage, the National found it was unable to accommodate SPVR with a pass. Undaunted, one camera was able to capture much of the action which happened on stage, and my special thanks goes to the person who made that possible. Few people would have been able to do this. SPVR is here to stay, so I hope others get used to the idea soon. I also hope you will watch the whole of this. It contains much more than that which was presented on stage. If you were in the audience and could not hear, this is your chance to catch up with what you missed. I hope you enjoy it.
Actually, I want to start off with an apology to my colleague Alison Thewlis, because I forgot to notify her that I was going to an event in her constituency. But considering that we are all here for the same reason, I don't think she'll mind too much, because we're all here for independence. Now, the last time I spoke here was in 2014, and I'm glad to see that the crowd is just as big now as it was then. And I'm now going into my third election after facing off my third Prime Minister, and yet we are regularly told that we are not respecting democracy. We are regularly told that we are not respecting the result of any referendums that have happened, whether it be 2014 or 16. They're wrong. The key difference between us and those who criticise us is that we do not fear referendums. We do not fear democracy. This here right now is democracy. The very presence of myself and my SNP colleagues serves as evidence that we respect the outcome of referendums. Because we said to Scotland, OK, we haven't convinced you yet, but at least let us go down there and fight to make sure we get everything that we were promised. If anything, it seems to me that it is actually the winners of these referendums who are terrified of democracy and terrified of being held to account for the promises that they have failed to deliver time and time again. Which brings me on to the Labour Party. Now, the Labour Party once was, for me and for many others, a political giant that somehow lost its way and ended up hand in hand with the Tories. And I, like many others, felt that Jeremy Corbyn could have been a different direction. He's even gone so far as to nick half the policies that we've already implemented on here, which is flattering in a sense, I suppose. And for example, he's actually given credit where it is due to the likes of my colleague Alison Fulis and her fight against the rape clause that has been forced upon Scotland. And yet just a week ago, he was up in Motherwell campaigning, saying that the Scottish Government could do something about this abhorrent policy, even though he knows it is reserved. And he's done that with multiple issues. In my book, that's called deception. The Labour Party has been promising Home Rule for years, and it has never delivered it. Time and time again it has passed up the opportunity. And yes, we can tinker about with the Scotland Act. Yes, we can devolve the odd thing. But the truth is, there is one legal fact which stands out, and that is Section 28, subsection 7. And I need you to stick with me here because I'm getting geeky. This section does not affect the power of the Parliament of the United Kingdom to make laws for Scotland. No matter what is devolved to us, ultimately nothing affects the power of Westminster to make laws for Scotland. And just last week we heard Boris Johnson saying, I think the SNP will forfeit all right to manage the NHS. We cannot afford to be naive. The only way to protect our Parliament is to become an independent country. Some say that we all get to participate in Westminster elections for representatives that we feel will stand up for our interests. And that is true. But if you remove the Scottish vote from the overall vote in any general election, the result would remain unchanged. In 1979, 1983, 87, 92, 97, 2001, 2005, even in 2010, we voted Labour and still got Tory. Vote Labour to keep out the Tories, we're told. Scotland has woken up to that myth, and we will not be made to feel guilty about it. Scotland currently has 59 MPs out of 650. To put that into context, the City of London has 73. We are in a situation where we can and are regularly outvoted by one city. The second largest nation in this family of nations. And I say this, yes, because Brexit is a problem, and it's the problem of the day. But let's not forget the concentric scandal, the Windrush scandal, Cambridge Analytica, the chaos of universal credit, the failure to deliver payments to the 3.8 million WASPy women living in this country. We can only ever guess what the problems of the future will be. And let's not forget, in 2014, the idea of Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, with Nigel Farage nipping at his heels, that was a warning. Now it is a sobering reality. And what I want to know is that if Scotland genuinely was an economic strain on Westminster, if we genuinely were subsidised, why did he want to keep us? The Tories wouldn't subsidise a spare bedroom. What makes you think they would subsidise a whole country? Imagine giving your wages to your neighbour and then letting them decide what you could spend. I would go as far as to say that as a nation, we have been conditioned for years. A constant drip effect, that we aren't good enough, that no one can understand our accents. Now I understand that most people's instinct is to find that is an insult to their intelligence, and I understand that, but that's exactly how it works. We think it's normal because we've been told no different. Scotland is too small. We have similar populations to Norway, to Finland, to Ireland, to New Zealand. Are they too small? Scotland's too poor and needs the rest of the UK more than it needs anyone else. Scotland's international exports have grown 3 times faster than our exports to the rest of the UK. We're told that Scotland would need to start from scratch, but we've already established differences in so many systems: education, law. Devolution has allowed us to take a different path wherever possible, one of dignity, inclusivity and compassion. We already fork out £100 million every year mitigating the worst of austerity. What if we instead could take all that talent, all that energy and all that money and reinvest it in renewables, in infrastructure, in people? There is one thing I have to give Westminster credit for before I go. The UK is in the Guinness World Book of Records as the country from which most countries have gained independence. Since 1939, 62 countries have gained independence from Westminster, and not a single one has ever looked back. Only one country has ever decided to stay, and look where it has gotten us. I've been saying since 2014 that the UK is arguably a sinking ship. Would you really stay on a sinking ship for fear that the lifeboat wouldn't work? But actually, 5 years on, I do a disservice. It's better than a lifeboat. It's a ship. And it's a ship where you are welcome no matter your colour, your creed, your sexuality, your gender. If you are here and you want to make this a better place, then come in. 62 countries. Scotland, let's be 63. Thank you.
Freedom is not a gift given to us by anyone else. It is something we have to fight for, something we have to campaign for, something we have to win for ourselves. If we want a better Scotland, a Scotland that can play its full part in the world, a Scotland that looks after all of its citizens, a Scotland for everyone, then we need to win that Scotland for ourselves. And the Scottish Independence Convention is here to help all of us do just that. We are the umbrella organisation for all of those who want to win the prize of an independent Scotland. We bring together all the independence supporting parties, national independence movements like NHS for Yes, Women for Indy, Scottish CND, Commonweal and so many more. And importantly, the representatives of local grassroots groups from all around the country. You are the Scottish Independence Convention. It is your movement. Because we know that we can only win our independence by working together, working across all sorts of divisions in our society, political divisions, class divisions, community divisions. And the prize for coming together as one independence movement will be a Scotland for everyone. Because we want independence not just for the sake of independence, but because of what we can do with that independence. We want to have the power to take the decisions that affect our lives. We want to have the power to create an economy that works for everyone. And with these powers, we can ensure our public services are fit for purpose. We can care for the elderly properly. We can care for all of those who are vulnerable, for all those who need support. We can create a different kind of Scotland, a Scotland that is outward looking and open to the world, a Scotland that truly is for everyone. And importantly, we want independence because independence is normal. And we all know that it is all of you, the people in the movement, that will win us our independence. Because the best way to convince more people to support independence is to have respectful, open conversations with them where they are, in our workplaces, in our communities, in our neighbourhoods, our colleges, our schools. We need to create the spaces for exactly these kinds of conversations to happen. And that is why the Scottish Independence Convention has set up Voices for Scotland, the civic not-for-profit organisation that will be campaigning alongside with you for a Scotland for everyone. Voices for Scotland is designed to help create exactly those spaces for those kinds of conversations we need to have, so we can reach new people, new audiences across the country and convince more and more people than ever before that an independent Scotland really is our future. Voices for Scotland is definitely not about telling anybody what to do. It is about being there to support you and to provide what we all need to have those conversations to create that better country. So we want to open up big, different kinds of conversations all over the country through discussions with people who haven't yet made up their minds on independence, and those who have lost faith in politics as it currently stands. Voices for Scotland wants to give people from all walks of life the opportunity to have their voices heard about the country they want to live in. And we know these conversations are more important now than ever before. It is time for the independence movement, our movement, to come together and make that case for a better country. No one could have predicted what has happened since 2014. It is clear that, far from being strong and stable, the British state is a rolling omni-shambles heading rapidly down a hill. We do not feel better together, and we are the UK is most certainly not okay. We do not want to be there when the British state tumbles off the edge of the cliff. So we must take a stand now to make a case for a better Scotland by getting out onto the streets, into our communities, into our places of work and education, and talk to people. Talk to people respectfully where they are, creating spaces for more of those conversations to take place, building hope and building confidence in a Scotland for everyone. That is why Voices for Scotland exists, and we are asking you to consider giving us £5 a month until Scotland is independent. We want to win the next referendum, and then we want to win the kind of independence we know we all deserve. That is a Scotland that truly is for everyone. Thank you.
Because the view is absolutely stunning. While preparing my speech, I struggled a wee bit because I didn't feel I had nothing to tell you about your country that you already know. So then I decided to explain to you my road to be here today. I was only 16 when I met Young Scots for Independence back in Catalonia. Since that moment, I fell in love. I fell in love with Scotland, I fell in love with your movement, and I fell in love with you, the Scottish people. I started dreaming about living in this country, but I come from a very working class family back home, and that dream felt impossible. Slowly, my parents realized that we couldn't afford uni in Catalonia. And then I found out in Scotland, education is not a privilege, it's a basic need. I still can't remember the tears in my eyes, realizing that my dream was closer and closer to be here today. As soon as I was 18, I grabbed the little savings that I had and I decided to pursue my dreams. It wasn't easy. I worked very, very late nights to be able to pay rent, and I still struggled. As the time passed by, I saw my dream coming closer and closer. I got accepted in the college, not any college, but the best college of journalism here in the great city of Glasgow. Not that I'm biased. The road hasn't been easy. Through this day, I lost my dad halfway through my dream. And it's been hard. In those times, you really realize if that sacrifice was worth or not. But then I remember how proud my dad was of me and how much I love this country and how could I have made a mistake. Scotland is my home. This is my place. I'm proud to say today, after Nicola's speech, I'll be graduating from an HND in journalism. And I'm proud to be one of the many immigrants that study and work to create a better Scotland. And it's really, really hard to understand how everything I've worked so hard for can vanish in an instant. Life took away my dad in a second. But Brexit can take away my future, and I can't help that happening. I wouldn't let that happen. It's scary how someone from behind a fancy desk can decide whether I'm worth to stay in this country or not. They don't understand how I feel about Scotland. I love Scotland. I am Scottish. Scotland doesn't want Brexit. We deserve better than this mess. I'm honestly so tired of talking about Brexit. It's more annoying than my ex-boyfriend, and I didn't thought that was possible. But you know what's more frustrating? Westminster. Every time they ignore us, every time one of our SNP MPs stand up to talk, they go and leave. And they keep asking why we want to leave. What a bunch of dafties. You know, we maybe laughed too hard when Donald Trump was elected, because now we've got the British version running the country. And I don't know who's worst. Boris, let me give you a message. You might take me out of Scotland, but you won't take Scotland out of me. In only 2 years that I've lived in this country, I've fallen in love with the language. I love still game. I try to drink like a Scotch, but sometimes I fail. And people come up to me and say, "Oi, You're ginger, pale, and chubby. You're Scottish until you open your mouth. I mean, I don't like the chubby part. I don't like the pale part either. But when somebody says I'm Scottish, fills up my heart with so much pride I can't even explain. I even love the national football team, and that's some hard work. You might have heard the other day Jeremy Corbyn was here in Scotland. He went to Motherwell, and he got the cheek to start slagging off the SNP's work. Jeremy, what have you done? Because the real opposition in Westminster is not Labour, it's Ian Blackford and the SNP MPs. When Mr. Corbyn wakes up from his nap and starts doing his job, slag whoever you want. Until then, zip it! The other day, the headlines were about how Labour and Tories joined forces with the Lib Dems to try and stop the SNP. They need three of the biggest parties in the UK to stop the We Scottish Party. We might be doing something right. Dear friends, everyone here is dreaming about independence. While we are offering new beginnings and a whole new chapter, our opposition is offering nothing more than the mess we're already in. Here, in the SNP, we want everyone to be part of this whole new future. Come write this story with us. While we're writing our new country, this includes our transgender Scots, our new Scots, and everyone who wants to be part of with us. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, and what you are, Scotland is your home. And yes, Piers Morgan, we welcome penguins as well. We don't welcome you. Sometimes we might lose faith, but remember, as somebody quite smart said, hope over fear. Don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories that Scotland's no longer their slaves. Independence is around the corner, and this time it's our time. Don't forget to vote SNP on the 12th of December to send a clear message to Westminster. Boris Johnson, hold your wish and let Scotland speak. Because Scotland is saying goodbye. Sonora y visca Catalunya.
After that long a wait, I don't know about you, but I'm about ready for a referendum. And when we have that referendum, when you see that ballot paper in front of you, asking should Scotland be an independent country, how are you going to vote? And more importantly, how's Scotland going to vote? I believe that's right. I believe that will happen. Scotland's journey to independence has been long, but we continue it today with confidence. Every step of that long journey has required us to be a broad and inclusive movement, one in which people feel welcome wherever they come from, one in which people feel welcome whichever colour of that rainbow flag they identify with. I'm really glad to see that here today. Because it's in our diversity as a country that we are strong, and it's in our diversity as a political movement that we are strong as well, and that is how we will win. Across the whole of Scotland, they saw the need for a Scottish Parliament. They knew it had a purpose, that it was something Scotland needed. And why? Partly because it was a journey toward self-government, of course, but it was so much more than that. The brutal reality of Thatcherism that has been inflicted on this country left Scotland with a clear conviction that we needed a democracy, we needed political institutions that could protect us from that, in the future. If it hadn't been for that savagery, if it hadn't been for that, there might have been some people who didn't feel the need for a Scottish Parliament. But they saw that need and they came together and they achieved it. We still need a Parliament that is capable of protecting Scotland from the excesses of a government we didn't choose, not just in the past but in the future. And we need to ask ourselves now, is the Scottish Parliament that we have under devolution capable of that mission of protecting Scotland?
I'm sorry. Thank you for trusting.
Devolution has achieved a lot. More renewables, fairer tax rates, a ban on fracking you can actually believe in. Humane politics that contrast with the brutality of the Conservatives. But it wasn't enough. Devolution wasn't enough to protect us from austerity economics, from the assault on the welfare system, universal credit and the bedroom tax. Devolution wasn't enough to protect us from the obscenity of nuclear weapons on the Clyde, or from the racism of the hostile environment against immigrants. Devolution wasn't enough. Devolution wasn't enough to protect us from Brexit itself. If Remain majorities in every single part of Scotland weren't enough to prevent the UK from overruling us, then what would be? You know the answer to that question. The limitations of devolution are well known. Power devolved is power retained. And now, with the alleged principle that the UK will not legislate on devolved issues, that principle has been torn to pieces. We no longer even have the devolution settlement we thought we had 20 years ago as a result of the way this government has treated Scotland. And so many people who voted no in 2014 are already concluding that devolution is not enough and independence is the necessary, urgent next step. The Brexiteers' true intentions are clear for everyone to see. A lurch to the hard right, a doubling down on austerity and neoliberalism, an assault against the social, environmental and workplace protections that have been hard won inside the European Union, and a continued assault against the powers of Scotland to make decisions in its own interest. And if right-wing extremists like Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg are thrown out of government, expensively educated idiots that they are, even if they are thrown out of government, we know from the way Scotland has been treated for the last 3 years and more that we don't yet have the political institutions that are capable of protecting us from the same kind of assault in the future. To me, independence already feels inevitable. But we still have to work for it. We still have to work for it, and we still have to earn the trust of those who didn't vote yes with us in 2014. That campaign for the next independence referendum needs to be inspiring. It needs to be broad and inclusive. The contrast between 2014 and 2016 could not be starker. 2014 was a visionary moment. Contrasts hugely with the vacuous, empty promise of take back control, which has been shown to be meaningless and contradictory. But the UK's political culture is not alone in being coarse and sometimes abusive. open to populism and manipulation, lies and corruption. We must never descend to that level. If we want to earn the trust of our fellow citizens, we must never descend to that level. Our campaign must, can and will show that Scotland is truly capable not just of governing itself, but of giving inspiration, giving leadership, building that inclusive, progressive, forward-thinking society and truly sustainable economy that our country needs. Hope in these difficult days, hope can be hard work. But it is only with hope, rekindled and shared with our fellow citizens, that we can win independence. And I believe we will. Thank you.
Hi there. Oops. It's great to see so many folk here today. Have you brought your shovels? We've got a ditch to dig for Boris Johnson. And I've been asked a special message that I've got to pass on. First of all, I've got to say hello to Gillian. Hi! And my friends in English Scots for Yes have said they want to record the crowd shouting, because our problem is not with England, it's not with the English, our problem is with the Westminster government. So they want to record this crowd shouting, "We love the English." You ready? 1, 2, 3. We love the English. Thank you. So we're here today to say that we want Scottish independence. Now, a lot of people have different ideas about the best way to get there, about different strategies for arriving at an independence referendum. But all those routes, all those different strategies, first must cross the bridge of the general election that is to come. Next month, on the 12th of December, there's going to be a general election, and it is vital that Scotland sends back as many pro-independence MPs as possible at that election. We need to pandify the Tories. And Labour as well, while we're at it. And what we need to do is to make sure that we have as many pro-independence MPs as possible in this next election, because the message will be from Westminster, if we don't do that, that Scotland doesn't want independence. It won't be if we don't get out there and vote, if we don't put our differences behind us and make sure that we all campaign for the SNP to get as many MPs as possible. The message won't be that Scotland we're disagreeing about Nicola's strategy for getting an independence referendum. It won't be about, Scotland wants to send a message on climate change. It will be Scotland doesn't want an independence referendum, because that's the way the media in this country works.
Yes, absolutely.
We're here because we all believe in Scottish independence. And we didn't learn about Scottish independence through the traditional media in this country. We learned about Scottish independence because someone that we know and someone that we love told us about Scottish independence. And that's how we made this campaign for independence go from 28 or 29% as it was in 2012, and we achieved 45% in the referendum of 2014. And now the opinion polls are sitting on half and half, and we're there already almost. We don't have much further to go. And we've already proven that we can do it, that we can get that message out by talking to people, explaining the cause of independence, speaking one-to-one, and converting people to the cause of independence. Now, if we get the people that have already come over to our cause because of Brexit, and we can get back on board all those people that voted yes in 2014, and maybe some of them have slipped away, we've already got a nailed-on majority for Scottish independence. And that is why the anti-independence parties in this country and that wee gaggle of scared people up the back are so terrified. Because they know that Scotland will have its say. And when Scotland does have its say, it's going to say Scotland wants to rejoin the family of the international family of independent nations. This beautiful, wet country of ours has decided that it's going to make its own way in the world, forming alliances and friendships with other countries from a position of equality. And that we refuse to get back into the shortbread tin that Westminster has put us in. I'm here today because somebody I know and love converted me to the cause of Scottish independence. It wasn't because of anything I read in a newspaper. It wasn't because of anything that I saw on the television. It was because somebody that I know and love explained to me why it was so important that Scotland becomes independent. It was my Uncle Shug. My Uncle Shug looked after us when we were wee babies. Him and my Auntie Jane. This is a man who's changed my nappy, which admittedly was just last week, which is a bit of an embarrassment. But he told me, and he always nipped my ear about Scottish independence and about why this country of ours can only achieve its full potential if it takes its decisions into its own hands. Because it's what your mammy and your granny always told you. If you want something done, do it yourself. And I've spoken to thousands of people across this country that are involved in this independence movement. And not one of them wants independence because they hate the English or anyone else. Not one of them wants independence because they think Scotland is better than anywhere else, or Scottish people are better than anywhere else. Every single one of them wants Scottish independence because they know that there is so much that is wrong with this country and we need to fix it. And the only way that we're going to fix it is when we take those decisions back into our own hands. And we will do that. I am so confident that Scotland is going to vote yes to independence in the not too distant future. So, just before I go, I would like to introduce you to the person who for me is the most important person in this entire independence campaign. The person that converted me to the cause of independence. Give a big cheer to my Uncle Shug. Thank you for listening.
Hiya, how we all doing? Magic! It's great to see everybody out here today. Well, as Richard says, I'm here on behalf of Women for Independence. And our job is to make sure that we campaign for Indy, but to put women's voices at the very heart of any campaign. Because make no mistake, we need to bring women's votes the next time for Indy Ref 2020. So we're going to put the women at the very heart.
Amazing sight there is out there. I feel we should ask each and every one of you to come up, one after the other, to see what the sight actually is like. It's amazing. But you know what this is telling people all the world over? This is saying to people, Scotland's not going to be spoken for. We're going to speak for ourselves. Because Scotland's reclaiming the right to be heard. There's an old definition of a diplomat that said it's somebody who's sent abroad to lie for their country. There should be a new definition for people like Ian Blackford, Joanna Cherry, Mary Black, even myself from sometimes. When we go down to Westminster or to Whitehall and we're treated with contempt, then the definition that we should be about us is we go down to London to be insulted for our country, but we're not going to keep going down and keep being insulted. That's coming to an end. This is a very clear lesson of Brexit. And I've got the greatest respect for my friends and family in England. My mother was English. I've got the greatest respect for what G.K. Chesterton called the plain people of England. But you know, in the end of the day, we cannot save England from itself. What has to happen? What has to happen is that Scotland has to look out for its own interests. And those interests are not the interests of Brexit. Because Brexit's all the things that we are not. Brexit's about looking backwards, not looking forwards. Brexit's about looking inwards and not looking outwards. And Brexit is about the past, not about the future. So we've got to define ourselves by what we are. We are people who want to be in the world. We want to be part of the world. We want to contribute to the world. And we want to look forward, not backward. So what can we do? What can we do today? Well, this is what we can do today. We can say to ourselves, we have to choose. There's only one thing that this election is about on the 12th of December. One single thing. And that is about choosing our own future. Having the right to choose our own future. Taking our own future into our own hands. That is what we have to do, and that's what we're going to do. There's no such thing as a good Brexit. There's no such thing, I noticed the Tory slogan, get Brexit done. There's only one way you get rid of Brexit. By not doing Brexit. By making sure that Scotland takes the lifeboat that's available to us. That lifeboat that's ready to launch, it's fully provisioned, it's seaworthy, it's the lifeboat of independence that takes us back into the real world. Now, Brexit's not the only reason for independence. I've been a member of the SNP since 1974. There are many good reasons for independence. And if only we'd chosen it in 2014, we wouldn't be in this mess now. But we've got a second chance. We've got the chance to move forward. And we need to take that chance now. So when we get to the 12th of December, we have to say, not just to whoever is the Prime Minister of the UK, but say to Europe and to the world, we want to be part of you, part of the future, not part of the past. That's our choice. That's the choice we'll make. It's always great to be at a rally like this and to feel the energy and the commitment and the enthusiasm and to see saltires as far as you can. But tomorrow we need to be on every doorstep in Scotland, telling people that the reality we now face is this: backwards with Brexit or into the lifeboat of independence, and let's set sail for a better future. Thank you.
Glasgow, let's hear you! All right, we have a crowd in the house. All right. Listen, I know you're all here to hear Nicola, all right? You don't really want to hear what I've got to say. Don't worry about it. I used to be Transport Minister. I know what it's like to be unpopular, okay? So I won't take up too much of your time, but just a few remarks from me. Honestly, standing here as a Glasgow boy in George Square, where we have tens of thousands of people, what a beautiful sight you all are. You're gorgeous. And do you want to know what I see when I stand here? I see people of all colours. I see the black standing next to the white, standing next to the brown. I see men and women. I see people of many nationalities. I see the gay and the straight. I see the religious and the agnostic. And that is what our movement is about. It's an inclusive movement. Whoever you are, wherever you're from, this is your country. Whether you're from Poland or Pakistan, whether you're from Germany or Ghana, whether you're 10 generations Scottish or you're a Syrian refugee, this is your independence that we are fighting for. An independent Scotland will be a rainbow nation. And my God, we're in Glasgow. Glasgow is a city where migrants have contributed so much. They've contributed to our business, to our academia, to our NHS, and even to our food. Thank God, this is the home of the chicken tikka masala. Oh, damn right it is. And look, to the serious point. That was all serious, but to the even more serious point. We're standing here in George Square. And this square is so symbolic, we're having this rally here. Because you stand on the shoulders of some giants. Because this square, and many times in Glasgow's history, has shown the very best of Scotland when we have seen the very worst of the United Kingdom. In 1993, the great and late Nelson Mandela was here in George Square, thanking the tens and thousands of Glaswegians that gave him the freedom of the city in 1981. When the UK Thatcher government called him a terrorist, we gave him the freedom of this great city. A few years ago, when David Cameron, remember that guy? When David Cameron shunned and turned his back on Syrian refugees, thousands of us gathered in this square, and we said loudly and we said clearly, you are welcome here. And we were the first city to welcome refugees in the entire United Kingdom. And just a matter of weeks ago, in this square, thousands of young people took off from school and they stood up for their rights and said to us, the old gens, leave us a better planet, leave us a sustainable planet, leave us a brighter future. And the pro-independence parties, we said, go on yourself, while the UK government tried to give them detention. You can't give detention, you can't detain our young people, their hopes and their dreams. So ladies and gentlemen, you stand in George Square, writing and about to write the most important chapter in our nation's history, and you do it on the shoulders of some giants. And you stand here today, and I'll finish on this because the main act is next. I finish with this. You stand here in defiance. You stand in defiance of a United Kingdom arrogant Tory government that tells you Scotland cannot have its voice. Will you listen to the tens and thousands of here? We will not just have our voice, we will choose our own path, and that path will be to reclaim our own independence once again. And we stand here to tell that UK government, we reject what the UK government has become. We reject your rape clause. We reject your bedroom tax. We reject, and to hell with your nuclear Trident missiles. And I end on this. I ask you one favour. and indulge me for just a second, because we've got one hell of a campaign to fight for. And you're going to have to, and I'm going to have to, pound every pavement. We're going to have to chap every door. We're going to have to look in the whites of the eyes of every friend and colleague and neighbour that you come across to get them to vote for independence. But I want...
So Chris, here we are, a week on from when I last saw you.
Yes, indeed. Another independence event. This time I had surgeries this morning, last surgeries before Parliament dissolves. So helping people as always, so one of the best parts of the job as far as I'm concerned.
And what about the election? Are you all geared up?
Oh, always geared up for an election. Always geared up for an election, as are the activists.
Who's? I mean, there's probably no opposition to you, of course, but who is the opposition to you?
It'll be a straight fight between the SNP and Labour. Got home by 60 votes the last time. A lot of the Indy left supported me personally rather than go to the Labour Party. So hopefully again, we are certainly up and ready for an election fight, and certainly be doing everything we can to chase every last vote down until we get to polling day. And that's the message that I've got for everybody who's here, everybody who's watching at home. We need to chase every last vote down, make sure that we get that independence referendum.
Yeah. And then, of course, independence. And, well, it'd be great to come home from Westminster, won't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It'd certainly be... what's the phrase I would look for? It'd certainly be less entertaining, perhaps, than some of the. It's always good to be home. It's always good to be in the centre of the universe, which is, of course, Glasgow.
It's lovely to see you. Good turnout already.
It's looking good. It's looking good. Yeah, and an exciting atmosphere, which is nice.
Yeah. And what's your role here today?
So here I'm speaking on behalf of the Scottish Independence Convention and Voices for Scotland, the non-partisan campaign to target and try and reach as many undecided voters as possible. So Voices for Scotland was set up by the SIC earlier this year, and our primary focus is to create the spaces to have the kind of respectful and trusting conversations with people who haven't yet decided which way they're going to vote, and to try and convince them to vote for independence. So yeah, I'll be speaking a bit later, and that's more or less what I'll be saying.
Michael Slovak.
And where are you?
I'm in George's Square.
And what are you here for?
Independence.
And what do you think's going to happen later today?
I think just mention something about it.
So we expect to see Nicola Sturgeon?
I expect to see Nicola Sturgeon saying that she's going to order 30, is it?
And how long have you been hoping for that?
30 years.
Where are you from?
Bala.
Okay. By the Loch Lomond.
Loch Lomond.
Yeah. Did you see that awful idea of putting a kind of Disney park up there?
Oh, they've thrown it out, but so I see they've put in another plan for whatever they're going to do with it.
Yeah, I spoke to Ross Greer last week. He said they're going to fight that one tooth and nail too.
I think so.
Anyway, have a good afternoon.
Right, thank you.
As you know, you and I have both been at every single rally this year all under one banner. It's terrific to see the number of people here today. It's going to be a terrific afternoon. It's very easy to get trapped into one particular niche, as it were. But Scotland and Independence is a broad church, a very broad church. And everybody here today, yourself included, have got a message. And the message is Scotland wants independence. And it doesn't matter who you're supporting. You might be supporting Tommy Sheridan, you might be supporting All Under One Banner. It doesn't matter who you're supporting. The biggest point is we have one... Thank you, Andrew, for straightening my flag. We have one cause and one goal in mind, and that is Scottish independence. So could we please, people, just all get together for one common cause. Once we've got it done, let's split, let's become members of the Greens, let's be SNP, let's be Labour, let's be whoever you want it to be. But the important thing is, this is the moment, now is the time, drop the silliness and just let's get on with it. And I think my friend Kevin and a fellow Canadian here would probably...
I would
concur with that?
I would indeed. I have been very involved in the Scottish independence movement now since 2014. Why? It is a strategic opportunity to strike a blow at the empire that has killed millions of people, brown people typically, in the interest of selling weapons. If we can separate Scotland and create a Northern European social democracy, an English-speaking one, this will be a very important example that we will be setting. When we have independence, I'm an SNP member, I'll be out the door the next minute, and I shall embrace a more radical party. No NATO, right? More equality and no more tax evasion by the wealthy and the shell game of inflicting austerity on everyone else. That needs to end. This is the shortest route to that goal. It's in fact Scottish independence. That's why I'm here today.
Okay, Chris, here we are in Freedom Square for this rally. They haven't quite sorted the PA system out, I'm afraid, but yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's thankfully, unfortunately, the sun's not shining on the righteous today, but you know, it's a great day. I mean, Glasgow's absolutely buzzing. You know, everybody coming together to hear fabulous speakers, and all culminating in the end with Nicola's speech at 3 o'clock. So, looking forward to that.
How did the conference go?
Conference was excellent. I was really busy on Friends of Palestine stall, and we had a successful fringe attended with maybe about 70 odd people. So
that was up in Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago for the SNP, yeah?
Yeah. And again, there was just you know a real good atmosphere and you know a different conference arena. The new conference arena, the PG arena they call it.
Quite huge, isn't it?
Yeah. So there was a lot of room to manoeuvre, whereas other conferences you were kind of jammed in like sardines, you know. But yeah, no, it was very good, very enjoyable.
So how fast are we getting to independence?
I wouldn't like to put a date on it because people would be asking me for lottery numbers, but I think an awful lot hedges on the fact that we need to get Jeremy Corbyn into number 10 because he'll be more willing to deal with us a lot better than what Boris Johnson will deal with us, that's for sure.
Mind you, have you noticed some of the propaganda just recently where they've been actually putting it out? Do we need Scotland? That kind of little message has been quite prominent if you read through some of the stories.
Yeah. I mean, I personally think that Boris will drop us quicker than a hot potato if he could. Do you know? And I think we'd probably get more resistance from Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn would probably want to make the case for Scotland staying with Britain, but in the end, being a socialist foremost and a Republican, you know, he's more sympathetic to Scotland doing its own thing. He just needs to drag Richard Leonard into the 21st century along with him, you know.
That sound system was horrible.
Wasn't it awful? Go on, say it.
It was horrible. The sound system, the National, it was horrible. I've been here since, what time? 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. And I didn't hear a thing.
Nicola Sturgeon! Hello, Glasgow! What a beautiful sight to behold here today. Firstly, let's hear it again for the leader of Glasgow City Council, the women who delivered equal pay justice to women across this city. We are gathered here today in our thousands in the beautiful civic square of Scotland's biggest city. And we are gathered here for one simple purpose. And that purpose is to demand the right to choose a better future for our country. We are gathered here to demand the right to choose an independent future for Scotland. My friends, make no mistake, the general election that we face now on December the 12th is the most important election for Scotland in our lifetimes. The future of our country is on the line, and there is no doubt whatsoever that Scotland stands at a crossroads moment. Down one path is a future that will be dictated to us by the likes of Boris Johnson. A future where tax cuts for the wealthiest take priority over our people and our public services. That is not the Scotland that we want. Down that road is a future where Scotland is ripped out of our European family of nations against our will. A future where the UK turns in on itself. A future of a hostile environment for migrants. That is not the Scotland that we want. There are people here today from every corner of our country, but I want you to give me a shout right now if you are a new Scot. If you come to this country from elsewhere in Europe or across the world, give me a shout. The message to you today is that you are welcome here. The Scotland we seek is open, welcoming, diverse and inclusive, and no Tory is ever going to be allowed to change that. And down that Boris Johnson path lies a future where Boris Johnson has his strings pulled by Donald Trump. Make no mistake, if we accept for our country that future, our National Health Service, workers' rights, environmental standards, all of that is on the line. That is not the Scotland that we want. There is, my friends, a much better alternative. And that alternative is not a UK Labour government that can't even make up its mind where it stands on the question of Brexit. The days when Scotland has to make do with a choice of the lesser of two evils, these days must come to an end. And if you permit me, given that I've been speaking about Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn, to go off at a bit of a tangent, let me send a message to both of them. Why are you so scared to have real debates in this election? And my message and my challenge is this. I'll debate either of you. I will debate both of you anytime, any place. So stop running scared and come and justify why Scotland should not be independent. My friends, the better alternative, the much better alternative for our country is to take our future into our hands and to become an independent country. A country that invests in our people, that invests in our public services, that invests in lifting children out of poverty, not in a hard Brexit not in trident weapons of mass destruction on the River Clyde. An independent country that is open, that is welcoming, that is diverse, that can build a better future, not just for us here today and this generation of Scots, but a better future for all the generations who come after us.